Welcome back, guys. We're here to talk about all things UFC Sao Paulo. Let's get into it. Alright guys, now before we get into these fights, real quick, just a reminder, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about these fights and who you've got in UFC 295 coming up this weekend with Prohaska versus Pereira. Let's get into the main card. So there were some really impressive fights on the prelims. As I had said before, Elvis Brenner had a phenomenal knockout. So make sure if you haven't seen those, ESPN Plus, go check them out. Getting into the main card, man, my performance of the night for sure got to be Nicholas Dalby. Now, we won't get into the entire rest of the main card because some of the fights fell out, including Armin Petrosyan, Rodolfo Vieira. Petrosyan got sick backstage in the arena. A lot of fights fell through, but we'll cover real quick, getting to the highlight of the night by far, Nicholas Dalby versus Gabriel Bonfim. Gabriel Bonfim came into this fight undefeated with a lot of hype. I picked Bonfim, but I've seen Dalby fight before, and he's just an incredibly tough out. He's got a high pace, phenomenal cardio, good striking, good grappling, and good clinch work. This, you really saw him put a crazy pace on Bonfim, wearing him down in the clinch, like pulling down on his head, just making him tired, and eventually just got in his face, kept clinching him. Pressure was there for days, and ended up catching him with a phenomenal knee from the clinch, and then ended up getting the job done. Phenomenal fight from Nicholas Dalby. Yeah, really excited to see who he squares up against next. That should be a really fun one. Moving on, that was our co-main event. Now let's talk about the main event a little bit. Jailton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. So, for this fight, there were some things that Almeida did really well and some things that Derek Lewis I thought did really well. But overall, this was a pretty frustrating fight to watch. I thought coming into this, depending on how Almeida looked, like he would have a very high ceiling, potentially be even the next heavyweight contender. After Saturday's fights, I don't think that at all. He's a very one-trick pony. Phenomenal jiu-jitsu and grappling control. The thing that was worrisome for me is he sat on mount for a majority of the fight and didn't do anything with it. Like very little ground strikes, very little submission attempts. He attempted his arm triangle, rear naked chokes. There were some of them. And to give Derek Lewis credit, his grappling and grappling defense has gotten way better, like drastically improved. You could tell Lewis was going to try and knock him out on the feet, and then if it got to the ground, just not expend too much energy. But Almeida definitely could have forced a lot of these positions. I mean, just throwing ground and pounder when he had his hands trapped, rolling over the top. I think Dominic Cruz was mentioning that with elbows. Like when you have the hands trapped, you can still roll your elbow over. So there was just a lot of things like that Almeida was missing, like that finishing instinct, and he was really content to just play it safe and do the same jiu-jitsu sequence for 5 rounds. So that's what we got. Gonna be curious to see what they do. I think he should fight Curtis Blades like he was supposed to, and I think that's a really interesting fight. And for Derek Lewis, shorting on short notice, tough matchup. We'll see. But that is kind of a quick recap, some of the highlights from this night of fights on Saturday, and looking forward to talking about UFC 295 coming up. A crazy card, especially the co-main and the main events. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.